What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm doing something I haven't done in a long time, and I have zero, and I mean zero, script for today's video. I have a couple things going on in the next several weeks, all fun things in my personal life, and so I'm making a choice to spend a little bit less time on my videos. So the thing that I think I might want to talk about today is spurred on by a conversation I had with a friend this morning that also seemed to kind of overlap with a couple of episodes of the Ezra Klein show podcast that I listened to in the last week, and my brain is just kind of like spewing just thoughts. And so, maybe I'm going to externally process some of those with you all and see what comes out. So the two Ezra Klein podcast episodes that kind of spurred on the beginning of these thoughts for me were related to the declining numbers of children folks are having, and particularly in the United States. So it's happening in a lot of countries. And I don't necessarily want to focus on the kids piece in this video today, but I am thinking about a cultural shift that they highlighted in the podcast related to how important work is and how much fulfillment we often culturally expect work to have for us. And this is something that's been kind of floating around in my mind lately because on the one hand, do not get me wrong, I find my work so incredibly fulfilling. So in that sense, in many ways, I kind of neatly fit into the typical cultural norm of what it looks like to be a working millennial. But on the other hand, I also find myself not really relating with just how much fulfillment working millennials derive from their work relative to how much fulfillment they derive from other arenas of their life. In this world where we can culturally expect ourselves to be so invested in our work, I think there can be this kind of anxious energy that lives within our investment because we need our work to work because we have to pay our bills, first of all. That is very important, so I do not want to minimize that. But we also have this investment in our career has to be successful and it has to be meaningful and we have to be doing the job that we love ASAP, like yesterday. So if we're not there now, we're behind. And it kind of has this anxious quality to it. When I think about the areas in my life that bring me fulfillment outside of work and outside of raising kids, it's about taking your time, wasting time with a friend. That's not time wasted. That was precious time that I got to connect with another person. Or if it's literally spending 2 hours in the garden pulling weeds, which is genuinely a regular part of my week. Am I wasting time? Should I optimize that by paying a gardener to come pull those weeds, or even worse to my nightmare, spray those weeds with something? Those are choices one can make. But for me, wasting that time just pulling weeds in a completely inefficient way is so valuable. So could it also be valuable to have phases in our career where we are allowing enough space for discovery? Let's try something out, see what happens. If it doesn't end up working super great, maybe we learned something. Maybe we enjoyed some bit of the journey along the way. So I think I'm rambling. Okay, I know I'm rambling. But this idea of kind of taking your time, letting things unfold as they unfold, isn't something that really aligns, I think, with a lot of our current cultural values around career needing to be fulfilling, needing to be sort of the everything and all be all quickly. And I see that manifest, and particularly it's a lot of bombardment, at least I experience it as bombardment on an array of social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, it could be anywhere, honestly. And yes, YouTube, that you have to have arrived. You have to be there now. And if you're not there yet, well, you better hurry. Usually there's some proprietary program.
And then if you follow my program in 8 weeks, you'll have da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
I'm saying it in that voice because that's how I feel when I hear some of these advertisements. It feels so hurried, so anxious. I feel behind. And then layered on top of that, whether it's an ad or maybe you're, chatting with a consult group or trying to get some mentorship or advice from somebody about your career, it can often feel like,
if you want to get there quick, this is the way to do it. I have the method.
Fill in the blank with whatever the method is. Everyone has their different, this is the way method.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I hear people say things like, you have to have a social media presence now to fill your practice, or you have have to be willing to accept insurance in order to fill your practice. Or on the flip side, you have to be willing to only accept cash pay in order to have a fulfilling practice. I'm talking about private practice because this is, my world, but this could apply to anything. I just don't buy it. If there's a more optimized way to get from point A to point Z that's more pleasant, that's less costly, less problematic, by all means, we don't need everyone to reinvent the wheel every time. And if somebody's kind of paved the path already, they might as well share that knowledge and information with others. I very much care about that and think that's great. And if we also take the approach of like,
My path is the one path. You have to do it this way too.
that just doesn't sit well with me. And it takes the fun out of it, because as scary as it is to pursue whatever career pursuits you might be pursuing, wouldn't it be nice if the journey was just a little more lovely and enjoyable along the way? Now, I don't want to minimize the stresses that also inevitably come. There's no time to dilly-dally if you need to pay your bills. I think even when we have that anxious quality to like, we need to get to our goal ASAP, then we can kind of lose touch with ourselves. And a lot of times I think it ends up taking longer for people to get to, paying their bills at the extent that they wanted to. Because when we're so stressed out, it's really hard to stay grounded. And we can end up making decisions that then we regret later, taking turns that we thought were right in the moment, but we made it out of an anxious state. And so we look back at it and regret it and have to course correct later, which is fine to course correct. But I'm just saying, when we take a hurried approach, it doesn't necessarily get us to the goal of even paying our bills faster, if that is the motivator as well. But I think if we give ourselves a little bit of permission to say, hey, we're going to get there, let's give ourselves a little space to discover what route is the one that's going to make the most sense for me or my household or whatever is important to you, then by all means, let's take our time and find that route and trust that we will get there. Perhaps some of the motivation I had for pushing the record button on this one was to really just encourage you, wherever you are at in your career journey or life journey for that matter, if you're feeling a sense of pressure to get things done on a certain timeline or on a certain path, I just want to give you some permission, encouragement to let it unfold on its own timeline. Maybe there will be some opportunity for you to discover what fits well for you. Maybe there will be some opportunity for you to enjoy the journey. There's more to life than just like pursuing one goal full speed ahead. If you're hearing voices saying that there's this one way to do things, it's okay to question it. A lot of times I hear those voices, if I go along with them, I end up regretting that later or feeling like I was kind of out of touch with myself as I went. And a lot of times the things that I'm happiest with for myself, my own fulfillment, and even my paycheck, to be honest, come from doing things that are out of alignment from what other people suggested or even like more loudly told me to do. So I'm not saying you need to go against the status quo, but I'm just trying to advocate that there's probably more than one way to get to wherever you want to go. Just be free. I hope some of you found it encouraging wherever you might be at in your career path or your personal path to just know it's okay. Whatever route you're taking, you'll get there. And yeah, if you're hearing people say things like,
The only way to fill your practice is through fill in the blank.
I've heard so many things fill that blank through social media, through Google Ads. Maybe you've heard it from me, SEO. It is a way that I personally enjoy, and it's been effective for me. But there's other ways. I know so many folks who fill their practice through less techie ways or like old school ways, reaching out to other therapists in your area, befriending folks, making connections, developing networks of professionals that you interact with and refer to and from. That works too. If you fill it through Psychology Today or some other means, that also works too. So there's lots of ways. There's lots of ways, and you don't have to listen to the people. You can. You so can. Just know that it's a choice to go that way versus another way. It's not the only way. You hear me? I hope you hear me on that. Well, I actually have a client in 10 minutes, so I gotta go, but I'll leave it here. I hope you found this encouraging wherever you might be at. And before I close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform included for all users, and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. I genuinely don't know how this is going to turn out. I know I just said everything that I said but it's not until I go back and edit it that I actually hear what it sounded like. Does that even make sense? Sometimes I listen back and I'm like, oh, that turned out better than I thought. Sometimes I listen back and I'm like, Marie, did you really think that was a good video idea? Well, it's what we got for now. We'll see which one it is this time, but thanks for hanging with me. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.